So let's start with the first way that you could choose to further explore your grant and proposal idea. I'm going to use the same example for all three demonstrations just to add continuity. And in this instance, I'm going to be writing a business plan for a family friend who started a business for mold remediation and is registered for the state. There's going to be one other employee, so we're looking at a very small business here. And I want to write a business plan for him to move forward with this plan and grow his business. What types of things should I consider when planning this business plan? So the first thing that I want to point out is that I've at least started with something. This is probably a distilled version of something that you might have posted in week 2 on the discussion board. But again, you can add as much specificity to this initial prompt as you want. But essentially, you've outlined this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be, what things should I consider? And we'll see what ChatGPT gives us in response. So you can see right off the bat that by using the word business plan, it has again signaled to ChatGPT the pattern of a business plan. And it's actually given you an outline in at least 7 points, it looks like, where it goes through 8 points, where it identifies a variety of different things to consider for each plan. So you begin with the executive summary, which of course is going to be a synopsis of everything. So the first major content section is going to begin with the market analysis. And this section should provide an in-depth analysis of the market, including information on industry trends, competitors, targets, and customers. If you are familiar with the structure of a business plan, this essentially are all of the parts that need to be considered. Now, because I began very generally, I had a specific idea, but not a lot of context. This is the type of response that I got back. But let's say we really want to focus on the market analysis because we know in a business plan that understanding the market is key. You can say something like, let's focus on number 2, market analysis. So in other words, I am identifying, let's hone in on 2. What types of analysis should I do? Do you have suggestions on where I could find competitors? And what specifically should I compare when researching these other companies? So again, it's going to give me another list: industry trends, research, competitors, target, market size, and it's going to continue on in that. And it's also saying that when comparing competitors, these are the 6 or 7 things that you should focus on. Now, as you can see here, you're very quickly going to get overwhelmed with a lot of information. And that's okay. The one thing that you need to keep in mind is that you want to save often. You want to copy and paste this stuff into a Word file. ChatGPT will save some of this stuff to the far left, but keep in mind that when ChatGPT traffic is incredibly high, those will disappear. And when they reappear, sometimes they're complete and sometimes they're not. So a second strategy that you might employ is using more of a problem solution presentation, or for the purposes of the grants and proposals class, an S1, S2 presentation. Because remember, programs like ChatGPT run off of patterns. And so if they don't have a pattern to draw from, you can give them your own pattern. So ChatGPT likely is not going to know what an S1 versus an S2 are, and the B's and whatnot. However, you can give them something that's a little bit more concrete. And in this instance, you can see here that I've drafted kind of a problem solution, or an S1, S2 with a benefits package. So the problem is a family friend started a mold business, might need some startup money. He has all the expertise to perform the task, but he doesn't know a lot about running a business. He needs a business plan to help him be successful. Okay, so I've already kind of began to develop this issue a bit more, pointing out that the person doesn't have a lot of business expertise and he might need some bank funding in order to get some startup costs. The solution, or the S2, then is going to be, I'll use my proposal writing experience or skills to construct a plan that will help my friend run his mold remediation business and provide a plan that's attractive to loan officers at banks. And then finally, for benefits, I can say my friend has 20 years in safely removing mold from houses. He finally wanted to start his own business, focusing on Denton, Texas. There are several other competing mold remediation services. Um, but they're larger and more expensive. My friend's business will perform the same quality work but at a lower cost with greater customer service. Notice that as we keep ideating, I keep expanding and adding on here. Again, the more specific that you can be, the better. The more quality of the input, the better quality of the output. And then I've just concluded with some of these guiding, what are the best strategies? What are some things that I can consider? More open-ended questions. So you can see here that providing those additional benefits is something that cued the chat GPT, and they're specifically talking about highlighting my friend's expertise, explaining the competitive advantage, using data to back up the claims, having a clear financial plan. Now, why is all of this important? Well, what all of this is getting at is doing research. It's basically prompting me to say, you don't know a lot about the market. You don't know specifically how many competitors you have or what exactly they do. And so you'll notice that ChatGPT keeps prompting me to find out more, to learn more. And in fact, as you learn more about a business plan, you'll begin to understand that a market analysis is the most important section that you can have, because it shows that you have not only an understanding of the business and the industry, but who your competitors are. And you'll notice that it included a lot of the same information in terms of sections that you might need to know. And again, it's a focus on primary research, going out and finding the information that you don't know. Another way that you might choose to ideate, and this can actually be its own independent way, or this can be an extension of these first two options, is to once again give ChatGPT a structure and ask it to brainstorm or create with you within that existing structure. So in our grants and proposals course, on the first week, in addition to talking about baseline logic, which I just covered in the last option, the S1 and the S2, we talk about the 6 generic slots that go into any successful business plan, and so, or any successful proposal. And so what I've done here is I've said, based on what we've discussed, I want you to give me an outline organized by the 6 generic slots of a successful proposal: situation, objectives, methods, qualifications, costs, and benefits. And the guiding question for each slot is below. And this is taken directly from your textbook. So in other words, we're giving ChatGPT a structure that we recognize for it to create in, and sometimes that can give us different ways of looking and seeing information. So you can see that it is beginning to take the structure and it is going through problem and opportunity. In other words, it's beginning to generate an initial outline that I could then use as a draft for my upcoming proposal. You'll also see that it's beginning to take some of the things that I've mentioned as, potential loan officer monies and whatnot, and it's beginning to filter that into the existing outline. Now note again that not all of the information that ChatGPT is going to generate is going to be accurate. So for example, under qualifications, you're writing this business plan on behalf of your friend. So you're writing it from your friend's perspective. Therefore, it's very irrelevant what your specific qualifications are. This is the qualifications of the business owner. So again, don't take everything that ChatGPT says as the truth. You have to understand the genre that you're working in, your audience, and the rhetorical situation. The other thing to remember here too is that remember that slots, when the way that we talk about them in 5170, are not necessarily sections. They're more thematic ideas that have to be woven throughout the grant. So while this might be particularly useful to you for brainstorming, it may not be the best way for you to actually structure your grant.